long before BMW decided that a performance car needed to weigh as much as a small office block and produce enough torque to alter the Earth's rotation, there was a strange and brilliant moment in the mid-1990s when the company asked itself a very un-BMW question. What if driving didn't need a roof, 2 tons of steel, and a 7-course meal of electronics? The answer, unveiled in 1995 at the Tokyo Motor Show, was the BMW Just For 2, a 2-seater roadster so light, so simple, and so gloriously mad that it made a Lotus 7 look like a Bentley. It was BMW's interpretation of Colin Chapman's simplify then add lightness philosophy, except with the precision and clinical engineering of Munich. Think of it as the spiritual child of a motorcycle and a city car that met in a wind tunnel, fell in love, and decided to go kart racing. But to understand how BMW arrived at the Just For 2, you have to rewind to a time before the SUVs and oversized kidney grills. The early 90s were an era when BMW was still obsessed with the purity of driving. The E36 M3 had just arrived, the Z3 was on the horizon, and the company's design studios were humming with ideas about how to blend agility, lightness, and joy into new shapes. But in the background, BMW was watching something worryingly unfold. Mercedes-Benz was working on a small city car, a strange little experiment that would eventually become the Smart 4 BMW's engineers weren't about to let Stuttgart have the last laugh in the lightweight urban mobility game, so they launched an internal design competition for their own to take on the city car of the future. Out of that competition came a proposal from Rob Powell, a former Porsche designer with a knack for turning madness into metal. His concept wasn't about building a cheap city car, it was about creating a driver's city car, something that fused the open-air thrill of a motorcycle with the balance and poise of a true BMW. The idea was bold, a roadster that offered the same level of engagement as the superbike, yet was practical enough to drive to work without having to wear a helmet. Well, unless you wanted to, because Powell designed some matching ones for the car. Codenamed Z21, the Just For 2 was designed to strip driving back to its purest form. There were no comfort features, no traction control, and no unnecessary electronics. What it did have, however, was a beautifully engineered aluminium space frame chassis, covered in carbon fiber reinforced polymer, the kind of materials you'd expect on a McLaren, not a sub 600 kg city toy. At just 549 kilograms, it weighed about as much as a modern BMW wheel and tire set. But despite that featherweight figure, it made safety standards and even included airbags. A remarkable feat of engineering given the minimalist structure. The suspension was also fully independent, and 4-wheel disc brakes were fitted to ensure that despite its size, the Just For 2 could stop with the kind of urgency you'd expect from something built in Munich. The bodywork, which looked part jet fighter and part dune buggy, featured scissor opening doors with removable panels for an extra taste of freedom. And there was no traditional windscreen either. Instead, the front bodywork was sculpted to direct airflow up and over the occupants. You could think of it as BMW's take on an invisible windscreen. Moving inside, the cabin was as minimalist as the exterior. 2 exposed carbon seats, a steering wheel, a gear lever, and a small center console. That was it. No infotainment, no air conditioning, not even carpets. It was everything you needed to drive and absolutely nothing you didn't. But let's move to the good stuff. You see, BMW could have chosen any small car engine for the Just For 2. I mean, a 1.4 litre 4-cylinder would have been perfectly serviceable. But that would have been far too predictable. Instead, the engineers raided BMW Motorrad and pulled the 1.1 litre inline-4 engine from the K1100 touring motorcycle. Mounted behind the seats in a rear mid position, the motor produced around 100 horsepower, which doesn't sound like much until you remember it was pushing less than 600 kilograms. The result is a better power-to-weight ratio than some modern hot hatches. Then the power was sent to the rear wheels through a 5-speed manual gearbox borrowed from BMW's production cars, and that resulted in performance that bordered on absurd for something that small. A 0 to 60 time in around 6 seconds, which was roughly the same as the M3 of the same era. And unlike most concept cars of its day, this wasn't a static display piece either. The Just For 2 was a fully functional prototype, tested and driven hard by the engineers who built it. When you have considered the combination of lightweight, short wheelbase and rear mid-engine layout, it must have handled like an over-caffeinated roller skate. Visually, the Just For 2 was unlike anything else BMW had ever made. It looked part speed racer and part sci-fi roadster, with a stance that screamed agility and purpose. The exposed frame, the tiny overhangs, and the minimalist surfaces all conveyed an honesty that modern cars have long since forgotten. Everything about it said driving for the sake of driving. No brand image fluff, no luxury veneer, just the pure mechanical connection between human and machine. Even the name was brilliant in its simplicity. Just for two. Just for two people. That's all it needed to be. Now, when it was revealed, the public loved it. You see, when BMW unveiled the Just For 2 at the 1995 Tokyo Motor Show, journalists and fans alike went mad for it. For a brand so obsessed with precision and corporate seriousness, this was an unexpected flash of playfulness. BMW had built a car that was cheeky, imaginative, and genuinely exciting. The response was so strong that BMW authorized Powell's team to develop further prototypes. They even began designing a range of accessories, like helmets, jackets, and lifestyle gear to go with it. The engineers made the concept car road legal, refining it for production, and several working examples were spotted buzzing around Munich, one of which Powell himself often drove. In short, the Just For 2 wasn't just a flight of fancy, it was dangerously close to becoming a production model. Plans were drawn up for a 10,000 unit annual run, with pricing aimed squarely at young enthusiasts who wanted a driver's car without the usual BMW baggage. But just as the dream was taking shape, reality, specifically the North American market, ruined it. You see, BMW's global management, particularly its North American division, balked at the numbers. The Just For 2 made sense in Europe and Japan, where small, fun, lightweight cars had an audience. But across the Atlantic, the US market was already shifting toward SUVs and muscle-bound performance sedans. There was simply no business case for a tiny open-top roadster powered by a motorcycle engine. American buyers wanted either cheap city runabouts or big V8 monsters, nothing in between. So the accountants took one look at the spreadsheets, shook their heads, and the project was quietly shelved. And so the Just For 2 never went into production, but it has lingered in the collective imagination of enthusiasts ever since. Every so often photos of the prototype resurface online, and people ask the same question: why didn't BMW build it? Even now, 3 decades later, the idea feels fresh. In a world full of bloated EVs and crossovers with personality disorders, the Just For 2 stands as a reminder that driving used to be about feeling, not about features. If BMW were brave enough to revisit it today, it could easily steal hearts all over again. In the European and Japanese markets, where small electric city cars are thriving, it would fit in perfectly. But even if it never returns, the Just For 2 remains one of BMW's most fascinating experiments, a rare moment when the brand, known for precision engineering, dared to have a bit of fun. It wasn't about luxury, or power, or prestige. It was about distilling the BMW ethos, the joy of driving, into its purest form. A car with no roof, no screen, and barely any doors. Just 2 seats, 1 engine, and the open road ahead. And for a fleeting moment in 1995, that was all BMW needed. But yeah, at the end of this video, please let me know what you guys thought of the video and what do you guys think of this really cool car from BMW that never really happened. So yes, let me know down below what you guys think. If you guys enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And if you guys did like it, you must probably enjoy most of my other stuff. So just go through my channel, see if there's something else I like. I'll check you guys in the next one. Cheers,